Hi, hello. My name is George Akolade Coker, and I am a typewriter poet. I'm realizing, it's Akolade. It's not accolade. It's not some edgy way of spelling accolade. You can call me Akolade. I know that's a lot easier for people who speak English because phonemes work better that way for you guys than Akolade. But also, I'm a Nigerian American first generation. I'm a first generation Nigerian American. So there you go. I'm going to tell you the story of how I became a traveling typewriter poet because I think that it's an important story to tell, not because of any reason other than it's about telling the truth. I guess I'm going to start with I am an actor. I became an actor shortly after high school. I was planning to become a Jesuit priest, actually, and I was going to study philosophy and engineering at Fordham University in New York, but that did not pan out for a bevy of reasons. Maybe I'll explain that someday in a book. And so I went to City College of San Francisco, where I met a girl named Teresa, who got me to do a play at a theater called The Marsh in San Francisco. I was going to be an extra, just singing in the chorus because I used to sing a lot. But somebody dropped out of the play, and I ended up playing the character Norman in a play called The Wave. It's about this fascist movement that a teacher started in East Palo Alto. I'm going to skip that part too. Basically, I did a good job, I guess, because people kept asking me to be in plays, and I kept trying to quit, and they really insisted that I keep doing it. So I did theater for a number of years until eventually I ran off to France with Juliet, where I found and lost myself. And then I came back to America, not knowing what to do for a living, and I started making commercials, because commercials pay really well. They pay way better than theater does. But instead of telling all these stories that made me feel like I was fulfilled, like I was telling stories that mattered, that I was helping people learn things about the world and themselves, which I wasn't just feeling like I was learning as I was doing the work. I was doing the work, and people would tell me afterwards about how it had touched them, how it had changed them. And I was like, wow, stories matter. Stories are so important. Stories are how people learn lessons. It's not just, spouting off facts at them that makes them internalize something that's very rarely actually helps them successfully learn anything. It's creating a narrative that has points that they can find themselves in and attach to, points that they can aspire to, things that scare them and make them realize what they don't want to be a part of their life. I think that's actually the crux of why storytelling sticks with us. It makes us feel things, and we honestly are not logical creatures. We are creatures of feeling. And if you want to argue with me about that, do so in the comments. But basically, one day while I was on my way to a set for a commercial, I was like, you know what? If anybody asks me any questions today, I'm just going to tell them the truth. And Kai was there. Kai is an actress that I know who lives and works in the Bay Area. She's fantastic. And Kane was there, and Kane is a homie, and he loves poetry, so every so often we'll send each other like a haiku that we wrote that was like, ooh, juicy. But actually it wasn't either of them that started this chain reaction. It was a person whose name I don't remember. And I wish I did so I could thank her, because she was like trying to chat me up about the law of attraction and manifestation, and I was like, no. She was like, no, but seriously, like, you have to manifest what you want in this life. Like, if you really want something, if you believe in it, you have to channel that energy into your life. And she was like, let me tell you a story. And I was like, okay, sure. And she's like, so one day I was with my friend and we were cooking dinner, and she cut her hand while we were like chopping vegetables. And I was like, oh my God, I've got to take you to the hospital, you're bleeding so bad. And she was like, yeah, I think, yeah, we should go. So she wraps up her friend's hand, and they're like sitting there, driving to the hospital. And I don't even remember like where this conversation happens, if it was at the hospital or in the emergency room. But she's like, okay, we're gonna make this a good thing. You're gonna tell me what you want. And she's like, I want a doctor. And she's like, no, you have to be more specific than that. Like, we're gonna manifest something awesome today. So what do you want? She's like, I want a beautiful doctor. And then she was like, oh, okay, doing better. And she was like, a beautiful doctor who speaks multiple languages. Okay, cool. Doctor who speaks multiple languages. Anything else? And then her friend's like, a beautiful doctor who speaks multiple languages, with multiple specialties. And she's like, okay, cool, multiple specialties, that's fantastic. So they're sitting there, and they get called in, and they're in the waiting room, or maybe because they're in the little room waiting for the doctor. And she's like, okay, are you still thinking about what you want? And her friend's like, yeah. And this doctor walks in, and it's this gorgeous doctor who speaks English and Mandarin and like Russian, and who is like actually a surgeon who happens to be wandering through like the UCSF like emergency room just to see if anybody needs help on her way out from work. She's like, whatever, like I might as well, you guys are swamped. But the doctor is a woman, and the lady is not a lesbian, so she got almost everything she wanted, or rather, she got everything she said she wanted. And I thought this was hilarious, and I was like, okay, cool, great story. That's a good one. And she was like, no, I'm serious. Like, you need to make sure that you say what you want in this life, because if you don't tell anybody, how can they help you find it? And I was like, okay, fine, whatever. So we're sitting there at lunch like 45 minutes to an hour later, and this guy named James sits down in front of me, and he's like, I'm trying to have more authentic interactions with people, so, yeah, if you could be doing anything right now, what would you be doing? And I was like, well, okay, I guess, since you asked, and I told myself I was going to be honest today, and it's so funny, because I'm usually the kind of person who's doing this thing themselves. Like, I'm usually just like, so, tell me about your life. I really want to know. And I do really want to know. Like, I actually love hearing about people's lives, but I was just in my feelings that day. And James was like, so, tell me, if you could be doing anything right now, what would you be doing? And I was like, I guess I would be doing nothing. But in lieu of that, since we live in a capitalist society and I can't do nothing and make a living, I suppose I would be sitting at a typewriter somewhere, writing haiku and handing it to strangers. And he was like, a typewriter? And I was like, yeah. He's like, but writing haiku? And I was like, yup. And he was like, do you know my friend? And I was like, no, who's your friend? Why would I know your friend? And he was like, well, I have a friend who does exactly that. And I was like, oh, that's cool. He was like, yeah, it's like his job. He started a company, that's what he does. And I was like, oh, that's crazy. Does he get paid? And he was like, yes, very well. And I was like, oh, well, word? He was like, would you like me to introduce you? And I was like, sure. And he actually did introduce me. He sent my email off, and they got in contact with me, and I was writing typewriter poetry a week later for strangers, and having some of the most fantastic serendipitous experiences I had had up until that point in my life. And I just, when you're on stage and you and your castmates have like an audience spellbound by like the moment you've created, like that is amazing. But like watching a person read like a card of 17 syllables that you wrote for them and have them respond with tears or hugs or like just explaining how they've never felt so understood is just mind-blowing. Like it's insane. So yeah, I got everything I wanted out of a job. I got my dream job by telling the truth one time. And I guess that's what I want to leave you with. I want to leave you with, if you want to become a typewriter poet, if you want to become, a travel blogger, if you want to run a YouTube channel where you cook delicious food and, I don't know, give it to the homeless, whatever crazy thing you think that nobody would have any interest in you doing, stop telling yourself no. Okay? First, figure out what it is you want to do, then go tell the universe that's what you want to do. Go and tell somebody that that's what you want to do, and see what kind of support you find when you know where you're trying to get to. Don't tell yourself no. Let circumstance tell you maybe. Let circumstance tell you, okay, but would you work for it? Let circumstance tell you, how bad do you want it? All right? Like, let that be the deciding factor in whether or not you go for the thing that you want, right? You need to stop looking at obstacles as this awful thing that prevents you from being where you want to be, and start looking at obstacles as these wonderful things that help you check in and figure out if you're not where you want to be already. If you're not trying to figure out maybe that you should go right instead of into this dark tunnel that you're not trying to actually traverse today, right? Like, maybe there's a beautiful walk around this mountain with beautiful trees and flowers that you've never seen before, but you've been like dead set on walking down this straight path on the train tracks the entire time, right? Who knows? Anyway, if you would like to share this video with somebody who you think needs it, please share it. If you like this video, like it. If you have anything you want to tell me, say it in the comments. And if you want more content like this, subscribe. I think that for those of you who already know that I do poetry sessions monthly, yeah, just look out for March. And for those of you who might like to drop by a poetry session and see if you can get a poem written by me, please do so. I love subjects. I love new subjects. I'm always coming up with reasons to give people a poem. I'm also trying to host a poetry contest during the month of February. Grand prize is one of my typewriters. I'll probably post a picture of it at the end of this video. Second prize is my favorite sweatshirt. I'll order you one. And third prize is a Moleskine journal. Submission's $5. I hope you're having a beautiful day. In the words of my acting teacher, Gloria Weinstock, have a sensorial.